In a world where we are constantly told to define ourselves, to build our identity, and to cling to the idea of who we are, the Buddha offered a radical teaching, one that challenges everything we think we know about ourselves. He taught that the self we so often identify with is merely an illusion. This idea of self that we work so hard to protect is nothing but a collection of thoughts, beliefs, and attachments that only create suffering. Today, we're going to dive deep into the Buddha's wisdom on the ego and explore how understanding the illusion of the self can lead us to true freedom. The Buddha's teaching of anatta, or no self, might sound shocking at first. There is no permanent, unchanging self. What we think of as I or me is not a fixed, solid entity, but a fluid collection of experiences, thoughts, and feelings. The idea that there is a self that persists through time is an illusion created by our mind. When we cling to this illusion, we unknowingly cause ourselves immense suffering. We think of ourselves as separate from the world around us, as an isolated individual with distinct boundaries. But when we truly look deeply, we begin to see that the self we think we know is constantly changing. Our thoughts, our emotions, and even our body are in constant flux. So why do we cling to this idea of self? The Buddha teaches that it is out of fear of impermanence, fear of losing control, and fear of being nothing. But the truth is, when we let go of this illusion, we realize we are not separate from the world. We are a part of it, interconnected with all beings. And in that realization, we find freedom. The ego is not a single permanent thing. It is a collection of thoughts, labels, and stories that we tell ourselves about who we are. These labels, whether it's our job, our nationality, our past, or even our mistakes, become our identity. We attach ourselves to these stories and think, this is who I am. But if we look closely, we realize that these labels are constantly changing. Our roles in life evolve, our experiences shift, and the way we view ourselves transforms. When we identify with these labels, we forget that they are just temporary. They are not the true essence of who we are. In fact, the more tightly we hold on to these identities, the more suffering we create. We begin to see ourselves as separate from others. We build walls around this constructed self, and we forget the truth, that we are not defined by any one thing. We are a dynamic flow of experiences, constantly changing and evolving. One of the most powerful teachings of the Buddha is that suffering arises from attachment. The more we cling to our ego, our desires, our possessions, our relationships, the more we set ourselves up for pain. Why? Because everything in this world is impermanent. People change, circumstances shift, and things break. When we attach our sense of self to something external, we are inevitably setting ourselves up for disappointment. We think that if we acquire the right things or gain the approval of others, we'll be happy. But these things are fleeting. When we lose them, we feel empty. And yet, the Buddha teaches that this emptiness is not a reflection of who we truly are. It's the result of clinging to something that was never ours to begin with. Imagine if we let go of the need to hold on to our attachments, if we could accept the impermanence of all things. The suffering caused by the ego would begin to dissolve. We would no longer be dependent on the external world to define us. We would discover a deeper, more lasting peace within. So, how can we break free from the grip of the ego? The answer lies in mindfulness. The Buddha taught that through mindfulness and meditation, we can observe our thoughts and emotions without attaching to them. By simply being aware of what is happening in the present moment, we can begin to see the ego for what it truly is, an ever-changing collection of thoughts and sensations that come and go. When we practice mindfulness, we stop identifying with our thoughts. We begin to witness them as just passing events in the mind. We don't need to believe every thought we have or identify with every feeling that arises. This awareness allows us to let go of the ego's hold and experience life with greater clarity and peace. Mindfulness helps us see that the ego is not a fixed self, but a shifting pattern. When we realize this, we can start to let go of our attachment to it. And in that freedom, we discover a deeper sense of who we truly are, not defined by the ego, but by our true nature. In the end, the Buddha's path to enlightenment is the path of transcending the ego. When we let go of our attachment to the self and stop identifying with the ego, we experience true freedom. This freedom comes from understanding that we are not separate from the world. We are interconnected with all beings, and in that interconnectedness, there is no need for a separate self. The more we practice non-attachment, the more we align with the flow of life. We stop struggling against the impermanence of the world. We stop trying to hold on to things that are always changing, and in doing so, we find peace, contentment, and liberation. True freedom is not about gaining something or achieving some goal. It is about letting go of the need for control. It is about surrendering the ego and trusting in the present moment. When we do this, we experience life in its fullest, most beautiful form. The Buddha's teachings on the ego invite us to look within and question everything we think we know about ourselves. By recognizing the illusion of the self, we can begin to let go of our attachments, stop identifying with the labels that bind us, and experience the world in a more liberated and peaceful way. If you find yourself clinging to the idea of a fixed self, remember that true freedom lies in letting go. When we stop defining ourselves by thoughts, labels, and external factors, we can live with greater peace, compassion, and joy. If you found these insights valuable, I encourage you to reflect on them and see how they apply in your life. Remember, the path to freedom is a journey. Take one step at a time, and don't be afraid to let go of what no longer serves you. If you want more wisdom like this, make sure to subscribe and share this video with others who may benefit from it.